You're listening to the Healing from CPTSD podcast. My name is Justin Vanderwind, and I am your host. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to my narcissistic mother and toxic family in a sort of imaginary setting and just voicing my genuine thoughts and feelings to them on how they've treated me throughout my life. If you haven't done so already, be sure to visit our website at healingfromcptsd.com and sign up on our email list for regular updates as well as a free weekly newsletter. If you're interested in taking your life back from CPTSD and narcissistic abuse, the Healing from CPTSD course is now available on our YouTube channel completely free of charge. This course has some of the best tools and strategies for understanding and overcoming CPTSD in your life. Feel free to check it out. All links will be in the description below. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Healing from CPTSD. My name is Justin Vanderwind, and I am your host. So in today's episode, I want to do something a little bit different than my normal episodes, but I also wanted to do something a little different in that, I guess maybe it's not something you hear every day, right? I was thinking about it, and I do have members of my family that I've always been sort of like, it's always been in the back of my mind. Like one of my fantasies, let me just put it to like this, is to go talk to my different members of my family and just have people like hear me, right? And acknowledge what I've been through, believe me, like without being put down or ridiculed or tried to, having them try to change or, any of what I'm trying to say, and I just wanted to be heard and understood for what I've gone through with my narcissistic mother, but also with my family, the other narcissists of my family, but my family at large on both sides of my family, because there's narcissists and enablers on both sides, and all these other people, frankly, that just kind of knew my mom or me or my, sister or whatever, that were sort of enablers. So what I wanted to do, and I thought this might be kind of therapeutic, is to sort of pretend like I am talking to my family and telling them what happened and telling them how I felt, telling them how I was affected by my mother's behavior, how she really is, and how all of it, my mother, but also everything else, every person who enabled my mother's terrible behavior, especially the people that saw it and just swept it under the rug and chose to, continue to treat me as a scapegoat because it was easier for them, even though they knew the truth. I kind of wanted to just sort of imagine all these people like in a room, like sitting down on a couch or just something, or maybe even we might have to get enough chairs in here for like a little auditorium session or something. But basically, I just kind of wanted to go through an exercise where I imagine that my family, my mother and all these other people that I've had to deal with are all kind of in one room and sat down, and I could just speak freely and openly about my feelings, how my mother treated me, and frankly, how other people treated me, and what I've had to go through, and how I felt as a result. And I just really want to speak, to those people, just purely from my own heart, and just actually say what I've always wanted to say. But instead of actually being able to do it, because I don't think that, I think if I tried to do that, everyone I've always tried that with, even my sister's supposed to be my best, you know what I mean? Like we grew up together. She's supposed to be, like on my side, right? Like have my back, but, she's just another person who doesn't, even though she's seen everything, right? Like, that's gone on. So, she's kind of in this, I'm putting her in this imaginary mix. And, but anyone else, it's just always, every time I've tried to do this in real life, I've just always been sort of shut down or told that I was wrong or mistaken, or that it didn't happen, or it didn't happen the way that I remember, or, all that kind of stuff, or somehow, jujitsu everything around so that just because my mother, and this is something that always bothered me about parents, and especially mothers, it's like there's this idea out in the world that if someone gives birth to you or is your parents or whatever, that just they can do whatever they want. I mean, they can be as abusive, because what people say is like, oh, just cut your parents some slack. it's hard being a parent. So just so if they're abusive once or twice or maybe every day, just cut them some slack, because after all, they slave. I mean, that's what the narcissist would like me to believe, right? Like, you have kids and then you're just allowed to be abusive, but there's just this very bizarre sort of collective consciousness out there of people who just have this idea like parents can do no wrong. Like, you have kids and you whatever you do, it's forgiven because you gave birth to these people, right? Like, I mean, it's crazy, right? So I kind of wanted to just take some time and speak sort of in a way where I wasn't going to be shut down or ridiculed or anything like that, and I could speak my thoughts and feelings to these people. And maybe some of this stuff that I'm going to say resonates with you, the listener, and maybe you were in a similar situation or something like that. But for many of us, myself included, I was just my voice was so fundamentally shut down, and I wasn't allowed to speak, basically, that it's very therapeutic just to be able to speak, right? Like, just to be able to voice my own feelings and my own thoughts and my own truth without being shut down or ridiculed or censored or whatever it is, or shamed or made to feel less than or bad or whatever. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pretend, I mean, obviously you guys don't know what these people look like or anything, but I'm basically going to visualize in my own mind that, my narcissistic mother is in this imaginary setting or room along with, my father, my sister, my grandparents, and all this stuff. Sometimes I'll be talking directly to my narcissistic mother. Sometimes I'll be just talking to everybody in general. And I'm going to bring the enablers into the mix here because I got some stuff I'd like to say to them too. So sit back, relax. I don't know. Having CPTSD, it's sometimes it's hard to sit back and relax, right? Like, that's, I don't know. I can do it. I've gotten to a place where I can sit back and relax, but I know some people are on edge all the time. So if you can relax, however you want to do it, just let's just begin here and see what happens, shall we? So I want to start this off by kind of addressing everyone here, not my mother directly, but just the entire everyone here, my family, everybody else who's here, and just to say that, I mean, right off the bat, my life has been just pure absolute hell. And thank God I don't have any major league health problems because that would be even worse. But, it's been hell, and it's been hell primarily because of my mother, because of my narcissistic mother and her behavior towards me, how she's treated me since the whole time, from the day I was born. And, how I've been treated by every other member of my family, including my father, or, whether they were directly sort of abusive or if they just kind of listened to all these smear campaigns. And we'll get to smear campaigns in a minute if you're not familiar with what those are. But my mom, it's really like, if I could take a moment to speak sort of genuinely and honestly and openly here about what happened to me and my experiences with my mother. It really is. I know this might sound kind of funny, but it really was like being raised by like a wicked witch, just a mean, horrible, nasty, terrible woman. And yeah, we had, food on the table, roof over our head and stuff like that, and clothes and, birthdays and holidays and all that type of stuff. And that's fine, I'll give her a thumbs up for that. But, it's like, for some reason, there seems to be this idea that people have, where, you're allowed to be abusive to your kids, or if all those check marks or boxes are being sort of checked off, right? Like, oh, well, you do have food, you do have clothing, you do have a roof over your head, you do, I give you presents for your birthday and Christmas and stuff like that. It just seems like, and it's always felt, and I've been treated like this, that is because all those things are happening, right? Like, she's providing food and shelter and clothing and stuff. And, like, we've been to Disney World and Chuck E. Cheese's and all that kind of stuff. I've had sleepovers with my friends and stuff like that when I was a kid. There's been fun times here and there, but it just seems like we can't criticize my mother because, she provides all this stuff. Like, because that stuff is happening, right? The food, clothing, and shelter, therefore that means there's no abuse happening. You don't know what abuse is, or I don't, because I'm not, maybe some like starving child in Africa or something, or I'm involved in human trafficking. That stuff is true and it's valid. That stuff does happen, but the truth, and so I always kind of grew up believing that, right? Like, there's nothing abusive going on in my home because I'm not starving. I have a roof over my head, and it seems like things are good, but on the inside, and this is what I'm going to voice here today, is I always just felt horrible. Not only did I feel horrible, I was being hurt. It felt like I was under constant attack, but in an invisible way, right? Like my feelings, my being, my core self was sort of always, it really was under attack, verbally, emotionally, mentally. It was extremely stressful living with and growing up with my mother, to say the least. But it really was extremely abusive. I mean, if you look at what emotional and psychological abuse is, or verbal abuse, that that it was horrible. It was like pure hell. And just because it was invisible, right? And there were times where there was some physical abuse for sure. Growing up, my mother was the type of person who would just hit me no matter, like, it just because she wanted to, right? Like, and it wasn't like a spanking. It was like she would just haul, like she had no control over herself. She would just haul off and hit me in the face. I've got caught in the throat a few times. And just really wail on me, and just it was like she was unloading her unresolved anger and rage out on me, and she felt that she was allowed to do that because she was my mother. And a lot of this stuff happened when behind closed doors, when it was, sometimes my sister saw some of this, but mostly it was just with her and I. And as we'll come to find out, my mother is very, capable of manipulating and making sure she's in a position or a place where she can be abusive to me without anyone else seeing it. You know what I mean? Like, she knows what she's doing to a certain, so, but that was nothing. I mean, the physical stuff was horrible, but it wasn't anything compared to the everyday regular eggshells I had to walk on, and emotional, just always feeling hurt, always being beat up, always feeling like I didn't exist or I didn't matter, or my feelings or my thoughts or my being had no value. Always being treated like trash. In fact, I think myself and many other people in this world are treated worse than trash. I mean, with trash, you just throw it in the can and you throw it away, right? Well, you don't abuse the garbage, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe some people do, but, even animals are treated a lot better than the way I was treated as a human being, by my own mother, no less, and by many members of my family. And it wasn't just really painful for me, but it was very, it had an unbelievable effect on many different levels in my life, growing up as a kid, school, grade school, everything else, relationships. I'll just go ahead and tell you how I was feeling on a regular, everyday basis. I just felt completely, forget about being on edge. I mean, my anxiety levels were so high, because you got to understand, in my brain, if my own mother's being that abusive and horrible to me on a regular basis, and calling up family and friends and smearing me to people and telling them how horrible I am, and which only serves to further alienate me from you guys. I had no way of knowing. Like, to me, this is what a human being is, right? But my experience with my mother was like, oh, this must just be how people are, right? Like, or I don't know. I mean, maybe they're different, but how do I know there's not more of these type of people out there? And by the way, there are. So I was extremely shut down, really cut off from my inner self. I felt completely abandoned emotionally, and I just always felt like I had to put on a mask or pretend to be someone else, or to be someone you approved of, or honestly, it was just a sort of an attempt, almost on a subconscious level, to just be someone that was liked, right? It's like, well, if my mother hates me because of who I actually normally am, then maybe I could try to find out, maybe I could be somebody else that she actually likes. I really feel that's where all that came from. And, my need to just be a likable person or whatever. I like humor, but a lot of it was just me hiding behind, just people laughing without being seen or heard in a genuine and authentic way. I was completely shut down. I mean, school was horrible for me just because of the amount of people that were there, other kids. I had no idea if I was going to be attacked or treated the way I was treated at home by anyone at any time for any reason. So you got to understand my fight or flight response was sort of always on. It was, the adrenaline, the anxiety was constantly running in my system. And because of that, everything was just so draining energetically. It was draining for me to be in a classroom, with the terror of being called upon or having to be exposed in front of a bunch of people I didn't even know. That in and of itself was like pure hell. To the point where, I actually left high school, and I got a lot of flack from a lot of people for leaving high school in 10th grade to finish with a correspondence program. But the main thing was my nervous system was fried. After it was compounded over really my entire life of going day in, day out, like just being absolutely terrified and petrified out of my mind, and my fight flight response being on that much. I mean, it really is like my nervous system, my brain was just destroyed by my mother, not 50%, not 80%, 100%. And, all the people that say, well, we shouldn't blame our parents, I am blaming her. 100%. 100%. This was actually done to me. I mean, whether we get into forgiveness or whatever is another topic of discussion altogether, but this actually happened. And anytime someone says, well, don't blame her, to me, that's just another way of invalidating what happened to me or my feelings or my experiences. Or, just it's just another way to sweep the reality under the rug. And by doing that, you're sweeping my feelings under the rug. You're sweeping how I was treated under the rug. And I really didn't deserve it. Nobody deserves anything like that. But I especially was not a bad. I mean, it was almost like I was being punished. I was I mean, I might have had a better time in actual prison, right? Like, I almost would have rather have dealt with prisoners than the narcissistic abuse and the emotional torment and torture from my own mother. I mean, I would rather be get in a fight or be abused by someone I don't even know, once or here or there, but on a regular everyday basis from my own mother, the one person you're supposed to love more than anything, or who's supposed to love you and keep you safe and warm. I didn't have that. I mean, it was like this woman absolutely hated it wasn't just hated my guts. It was like she hated my being. It was like she hated me just for existing, just for being born. And the messed up part about that is she's the one who gave birth to me, right? Like, she's the one who brought me in and then just treated me like like I was just a piece of subhuman filth that she just hated and poured. The way it felt on an emotional level is that she just dumped and poured all of her hatred and anger towards, whatever happened in her life, which, I'm sympathetic to, but she dumped it. I mean, instead of dealing with it in a healthy way and going to a therapist or something, she dumped it all out on me. And she thought she was entitled to do that because she gave birth to me. And that is so messed up. It's almost like being treated like a slave or something. I mean, this woman's actually told me on many occasions throughout my life, I don't have any rights. So that, it's as crazy as that sounds. I mean, that gives you an idea of what's going on in her mind as far as how she sees me. You know what I mean? She just sees me as some horrible, criminal or terrorist or terrible, horrible person. And, they do have people like that. They do have people in this world that do terrible things. And I'm not one of them. I mean, I can actually, whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty. I'm not a perfect person, but my God, like, I don't do any, I I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm quiet. I like to play video games when I was growing up. Still do here and there. I'm like kind of introverted. I like to keep to myself. I have some friends, but not anything. Like, I'm not like the life of the party or whatever. I'm not in a gang. I don't run around stealing stuff or doing hard drugs or whatever. Maybe smoke some pot here and there, but nothing crazy. I mean, I don't do any of that stuff, and yet somehow I'm treated like just like absolute garbage, and it's been like pure hell, and this has affected my ability to function, and across the board. I mean, forget about functioning in school or work or in relationships. I mean, my life has been pretty much shut down for a great deal. I mean, I've had relationships, but I was never able. They were extremely uncomfortable for me emotionally. I never felt like I could connect with anybody in a genuine, authentic way, and the reason is because I never really knew how to do that. I mean, the last time I had authentic emotional vulnerability, was as a baby, right? Like the very first few months or years of my life. In my experience, I never learned healthy emotional intimacy because my mother was extremely emotionally unavailable and extremely emotionally abusive. And she's not getting away with this. I mean, she's not getting away with it in the sense that I'm going to sweep this under the rug. I'm talking about this. I'm going to voice it because this is what actually happened. And there's a lot of other people out there that have gone through similar things that I have and continue to do so, including children. So, all those people that, just saw what happened to me or, swept everything under the rug or turned a blind eye or just jumped on the scapegoat party because it was just emotionally and psychologically easier for you. I'm not doing that myself as an adult. I'm calling it out. If I see it, if I see someone else doing it and, because I know what it's like, I know what it's like to have no voice, to be a child that nobody cares about, really. I mean, again, like it is not okay to abuse your children just because you're giving them food and shelter and the basic necessities of life. I mean, I would argue if you have children, those children have certain rights. I mean, their parents are really supposed to provide all those things for them. I mean, honestly, let's cut the crap. I mean, legally, until they're 18 years old, parents are obligated to take care of the needs and the well-being of these children and these minors. So I don't want to hear, and that's another form of emotional and psychological abuse that went on all the time, which is just I should somehow feel guilty or, thankful or something that my mother had to sacrifice all this stuff. She didn't sacrifice anything, and we'll get to that in a second too. But this is how my life has been, and I have spent the bulk of my life so far on this earth, from the very beginning, as early as I possibly could, going to therapists and looking into any kind of self-help books or whatever I could get my hands on, spiritual stuff or listening to Tony Robbins or anything that could be helpful for me to understand what was going on with me and then to heal it and fix it. I initially wanted to do that for my family so I could get my family back, but nobody seems to care but me about the dysfunction and the toxicity that's going on all over the place here. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to have a PhD in psychology to see that there's some serious problems going on both sides of this family. And I just want to feel better. I want to heal. I want to feel good. I want to be able to feel like it's okay to be me. I want to be able to voice my true feelings and my true thoughts and be around people that actually seem to like me. I mean, not everybody likes everybody, but my God, like I think I'm a pretty reasonable person. I don't understand why I've just been so fundamentally disliked and hated by my mother. I do get why other people in the family didn't like me, and that's because of the smear, what they call smear campaigns, which is basically what it sounds like. Is she would just cause all kinds of problems, and get me to try to react, or hopefully, but even if I didn't react to her abusive behavior, she would call up family and friends and gossip and tear me to shreds, and sometimes it'd be my sister, but mostly me. or anyone else. If she had some boyfriend at the time, it was always some problem with them, always some problem with my father, but nothing was ever her fault. Nothing was ever, and frankly, I'm amazed at all of you people who, heard all this stuff over years, decades of this type of stuff, and it never occurred to you that there might be something wrong with my mother here. I mean, I just can't believe it. Like, I can't believe a rational, person with just everyday levels of intelligence and human experience wouldn't be like, hey, maybe there's something wrong with this person that keeps telling me all this stuff. Like, how is it that this person is just an eternal victim who's just constantly surrounded by, all these abusive people, including her own kids? Well, the real problem was her, and so fast forward, and so think about that. So she's smearing me to a lot of you guys, and then you see me at some family function or whatever. I come over to visit, and there's all this like under the table bad energy already right off the bat. I haven't even done anything wrong. A lot of times she would just make stuff up. So I always knew something was wrong here, and they call people like me the black sheep, or the scapegoat, the black sheep. But because I've always been a vocal. I may have been shut down vocally in my early part of my life, but I would always stand up when I needed to for the truth and for especially what was happening to me. I always knew there was something incredibly wrong with my mother and my other members of my family, but it wasn't until years later I found out what they called narcissistic personality disorder, narcissistic abuse, which is exactly what has been going on here. No therapist I saw ever caught it. Nobody ever caught it. I had to find out. This is, talk about another level of insanity. I mean, I should have been able to go to a therapist or a psychologist and explain to them what was going on. They should have been able to help me find what was going on and then fix it. That's how that's how every other area of life works. If you bring your car to a mechanic, they should be able to find out what the problem is and then fix it. You know what I mean? I mean, it shouldn't take 10 years, if you need new brake pads or something. You know what I mean? Or they should be able to at the very least diagnose it. And that was never something that happened with me, and I was right the whole time. People that just smeared me as crazy or whatever. The fact is, there's nothing really crazy about me. I'm just here. I'm here for the truth. I'm here to heal. I'm here to get it out all on the table. And I'm interested in, instead of sweeping stuff under the rug, I'm interested in looking at what's actually happening. And more importantly, how I actually feel and how all this shit has affected me, to be honest with you. And so now it's like I find out about narcissistic personality disorder, which nails the way my mother behaves and all of her behavior all across the board, which includes the smear campaigns, which includes her horrible, terrible, raging behavior towards me, fundamentally, but she's had it towards other people too, and then lo and behold, I find out, something called CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which absolutely nails my own experiences in my life the entire time. I mean, to the point where just reading what CPTSD was therapeutic for me, because at least now I knew it wasn't just some, quote, chemical imbalance. There wasn't something fundamentally wrong with me. There was something wrong with me because of the very real abuse and damage that has been done to me and my brain and my nervous system. I mean, to be honest with you, with the amount of pain and struggle and strife that I've had to endure from my own mother and from my family. And by the way, they say the people who are aware of this type of situation with narcissistic people, or is you just got to get away from them. So that means, okay, great. Now I got a whole new world of problems to deal with, which means I have to go leave my entire family on both sides because they don't want to get their shit together, or at least be honest. Maybe the narcissists aren't able to do that, but the bulk of you people can do it. You just choose to sort of acquiesce to the dysfunction because you're not I don't know what it is. If you're not courageous enough, or you just can't seem to handle a little discomfort emotionally with just being honest with the not only abusive stuff that's gone on, but the dysfunction. I mean, who wants to live like this? You know what I mean? From the narcissist to the codependents and all these various enablers, nobody's happy, everybody's miserable, and nobody wants to do anything about it here in this room besides me. So I don't, I can't believe it, honestly. Like, I just can't believe I'm the only one who, all I want to do is feel better. All I want to do is heal. I want a nice, warm, happy family. I'd like to come home for the holidays. You know what I'm saying? Like, but not for me, because you people can't get it together. So I've got to take responsibility. I've got to take more responsibility than I should have to for my own parents, my own family, the mental health field that failed. I've got to figure out what's wrong with me, heal on my own fundamentally, only because nobody else seems to know how to do it, which I've done, by the way. I have catapulted, I've gone beyond leaps and bounds, beyond what anyone should have to do just to get my life back. Now I've got to go recreate an entire new family or something, and I just can't believe it. I mean, I had great grades in school. I left school because of the CPTSD, where I had a nervous breakdown. Literally, I literally could not function anymore. I just had so much stress and anxiety going on with school and my mom and everything else that I just felt like I completely dissociated from, because I just couldn't, it's like my consciousness or whatever couldn't handle what was going on inside of my brain and body and nervous system, so it just checked out. I just dropped everything, and I left where I was because it wasn't good for my health and well-being, and I needed to focus on my health and well-being, and nobody cared about me. Everyone was mad and angry or thought I was some kind of loser or something. I'm like struggling just to survive here. I'm still having struggled. I mean, this we're talking about narcissistic abuse and CPTSD. I mean, you're talking about a certain degree of permanent damage that was literally done to me by this woman and all these other people here. So, I mean, there's that luckily I've been able to overcome a great deal of these developmental arrests that comprise CPTSD, but, I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, it's just been like an no wonder I've had suicidal thoughts. I mean, Jesus Christ. There comes a point where it's like, you don't know what else to do. Nobody can help you. You're doing all the right things. You're talking to counselors and trying to, be quiet or go to your room I did all that stuff over and over and over again, and it didn't stop this woman over here from being abusive and horrible. Just an absolute. I honestly consider her to be a horrible person. I put her and people like her in the same category as, just criminals, honestly. People who hurt people so fundamentally, who have abused someone so fundamentally that you've fundamentally damaged, to a certain degree, the rest of their lives. That's what this woman has done to me. And no amount of, pretending like it didn't happen or letting bygones be bygones, or, even forgiveness itself. I've been through so much garbage that I don't even know what forgiveness means in a situation like this. I don't know what does that even mean? It's fine, no problem, no big deal. That's what I've been told my entire life, and all that did was just suppress more pain and invalidate me even more. So I don't even really know what to say. I'm not saying Jesus was wrong, but they certainly didn't take any of this kind of stuff into account, I don't think, when they were given those teachings. So that's what I've had to deal with. And, I struggled in school. I've struggled in relationships. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I've been in some relationships over the years, but after a while, I realized I wasn't capable of even having a damn girlfriend without, just emotionally. Like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't handle it. It was too. There was so much emotional damage and pain that I had to heal and deal with that I literally couldn't even live my life. And to be honest with you, I feel that I was gangster enough to completely drop. And instead of going out there and having more kids and just continuing this dysfunctional, abusive cycle, I locked everything down in my life. I made the choice to do that, to stop dating and to stop not having any kids until I was adequately healed and felt comfortable enough to do that. And instead of taking my stuff, even though the dysfunction that I was dealing with wasn't, it was done to me. I had to. It's almost like I had to deal with my problems, but they were problems that were given to me by other people and their problems throughout generations. I had to take it all on. So, or I chose to anyway. I didn't have to. I could have just been like you people and just, buried my head in the sand and pretend like everything's fantastic instead of dealing with the actual issues and, can just continue the dysfunction. But I wanted to be happy in a real and authentic way. And if I ever have kids, I would never, ever, 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 ever treat them the way I was treated or even remotely expose them to people like you who have treated me like absolute garbage, and the other people think it's perfectly fine. I mean, you don't have to be the bravest person in the world, but I don't know what the difference is between me or other, I don't deal, if I see some injustice going on, or even as a kid, bullies on the playground, I would always stand up for the person that was getting picked on. Always. I can't just stand there and do nothing. You know what I'm saying? I've even seen other people being abused, by my mother or other, and I would say, hey, at least step in and try to, give some voice to the truth. This is not okay. You can't be abusing people here, even if it's just verbal abuse. It's not okay. There's no justification for it. So, I don't even know what else to say to you people. But, I would love to have had a family that liked me. But you know what? At this point, if you don't like me, whatever your problem is, I don't care anymore. That's your problem. I'm going to go find people that actually do like me and value me and treat me with just basic everyday respect that you would give just even your pet, like an animal, right? Don't treat people like that. Don't treat anybody like that, or any creature or being or whatever that actually like me. And I'm not going to live in a cave of fear for the rest of my life because of what you people did to me. I'm getting my life back, and that's all there is to it. By the way, I've got this podcast on iTunes and Spotify, and I've got a YouTube channel. So if you think this is not over, I'm coming for you, and I'm coming for every other narcissistic person or piece of garbage that thinks that they can abuse people behind closed doors and get away with it, and that we're all just supposed to quote unquote go on with our lives. Well, how are we supposed to go on with our lives when all this trauma and pain is not being adequate? It's not, forget about healing it. It's not even being addressed. It's not even being acknowledged of how much so many people are carrying around because of people just like you that just couldn't, whatever your problem is, I don't even care anymore. Well, you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself or whatever. This is terrible. It's horrible. I don't like you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And I swear to you, I have no emotionally, I don't even know who you people are. All I know is you're just a group of horrible people that have always made me feel bad in general and about myself. So that's how I feel about what I've been through. There's so much that could be discussed, honestly, but frankly, I think I've said the bulk of it here. I don't want to have anything to do with you people, and I never want to see or hear or deal with any of you people ever again. Shame on you for the way that you've treated me, especially my narcissistic mother, my cowardly father who knew what was going on and didn't do a damn thing about it besides just run around and have a whole bunch of other kids with a whole bunch of other women, and just who knows what kind of problems those kids have. You see what I'm saying here? With what I didn't do any of that. I chose not to have children because I didn't want to do that. This man, he doesn't care. And there's a lot of other people that don't care either. They don't care about taking care of their own garbage to the point where they don't care if it spills out on other people around them or their own children. And it's not right. And I'm going to be an advocate and a voice for this for the rest of my life until the day I die. I can promise you that. So, anyway, all right. So we're gonna. All right. So that'll be that for this. I guess this session or whatever. This I'm talking to you now, the listener, directly. That we're segueing out of my imaginary discussion with my narcissistic mother and my family in an audience. I gotta tell you, that felt pretty good. I hope you. I hope I could feel myself. Like I'm. There's anger in there. But it's still in there. Do you have any idea, by the way, like me talking to you guys now, how much anger? Like I just can't even believe it. It's like the depths of. It's like when you look at the Earth. Like remember those pictures of the Earth, like in Earth Science or whatever, and they kind of chop it in half. And you got like the crust and the mantle and all these. I'm not a geologist here, so I don't remember all the. You got the core, and I just remember there's all this like lava and red hot stuff in the center of the earth, right? Like that's how that's how I feel emotionally. Like I have cleared out so much emotional lava over the years, but there's still some in there. Like it's you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. I don't know what to tell you, but I liked that little exercise. It was freeing for me, and I know you you got some. It was good to. I liked being able to speak openly and not be shut down or even have anyone talking over me or yelling back or whatever. That was fantastic. And honestly, that was we could go on forever, and I know that you know that, but I just kind of wanted to cover the main, I guess, big picture view of all this crap without speaking to different. Maybe I'll do some more of that type of stuff where I'm speaking to different people, sort of in an imaginary capacity, and just kind of sharing it with you. Maybe you got something out of hearing me say that stuff, or you can relate, or maybe it could give you some strength to. I wouldn't recommend. I don't. I've done this type of. I haven't done. How do I put this? I could only go so far with some of these people because they'll run away. In fact, my narcissist always runs away. Like if I get to the point, like first she tries to dominate and control me, right? With yelling and screaming and like the finger pointing and the hostility like coming at me. But once I got to the point where I was like, listen, I'm not gonna just sit here and take this from you. Like if you want to have a conversation, we can have a conversation. If there's some issue that we need to resolve, I'm more than happy to talk to you. But you can't. I'm simply not going to allow you or frankly anyone to treat me like this, like to yell and just dump all this anger and rage out on me. So I'm just not going to do it. Like I'm not going to allow myself to be abused anymore. So if you want to throw down, like if you want to throw your, so what would happen? And so when I started using like logic and talking back to defend myself to her, a lot of times what she was saying was so crazy and so outside the bounds. There was no logic to it that she just kind of folded in on herself and just had to run away, and pretend like I was the problem or something. But it's like, you don't, so I'm sure you can't have rational, whether she's running away or yelling at me or going in circular conversations, these type of people, there's no scenario. In fact, I don't even think what I just did here in sort of a imaginary way could ever actually happen in reality. Not that I wouldn't be willing to do it, but I just don't think that the people in the audience would let me do it. I mean, some of them might, but not, especially not my narcissistic mother and other members in the audience, because I don't know, man. Like as you can hear from what I said to these imaginary people here, I'm not here to like I did sugarcoat a lot of that because we're on a podcast here, but like I'm coming right for the truth. I'm coming for the core of the truth. Like I'm not hiding. I'm not gonna be playing those games personally. So anyway, I hope you I don't know. Was that like something fun to listen to, or was it I don't know, it's, I guess kind of experimental. It was nice for me because it was kind of like therapeutic, and then I could just speak, right, without being yelled at or beat up or whatever. Oh man. You have no, well, you know how much I just hate these people. And we're always taught like you're a bad person if you hate somebody, but I swear to God, like I don't know what to tell you. Like I absolutely hate these people. What they've done to me, like and it's not just like one thing here or there. I mean, you get it. It's like a lifetime of just hell. I mean, I can't. My brain. It's like all of our brains it can't even handle the stuff that we've been through, right? So that's pretty much that. That's sort of a summary of what I would have liked to have said to my narcissistic mother and my family and the enablers. Although the enablers, I'd really like to get them together and clunk their heads together like Mo, because those people know, man. You know what I mean? The narcissists, you may not be able to get anywhere with them, but the enablers, they're very much conscious of what has gone on, things that they've witnessed with you and other people, and they're just completely choosing to throw you under the bus. Basically, is what's going on here, which is just terrible. And then they try to come in and shame you or put you down or try to somehow make you the one that's doing something wrong. And really, what's happening is because they're in such denial, because they're not dealing with their own stuff, they're simply they have no other way to deal with what's going on inside them but to project it, and they're projecting it onto you. We really are just like garbage cans for these people. And I'm not taking it. I haven't been taking it for a while, but if you're in a situation where someone's treating you like that, I would highly advise you not to, like I wouldn't even put it like, just for an example. I mean, we just had Mother's Day. If I was ever in a situation where I was like just visiting my narcissistic mother or some other family member or something, and some BS came up, I just simply wouldn't deal with it. I would just get up and leave. I'd tell them, listen, I'm not gonna be doing this dance. I'm not gonna sit here and be miserable and just having to put up with your bad behavior just to quote keep the peace. There's no peace to keep, and it's because of you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a big fan of, getting to the real source of the problem rather than just trying to pretend like somebody else is the problem when it's really not. So anyway, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed or whatever. I don't know if that's something that is enjoyable, but maybe it's relatable. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe like just sharing my own feelings. Maybe it was nice to just hear someone else that had similar feelings and experiences that you did. So anyway, there's that, and I'll do more stuff like that in the future, because that whole thing where you're like speaking to an invisible chair and the therapist, I think it's called Gestalt therapy, if I'm not mistaken, where you just kind of pretend like you're talking to your mom or your dad or somebody, even if they're dead or they're not here. You can do that and just kind of pretend they're there and just say what you really want to say, and it's fantastic. So I decided to just take it and do it live on a podcast. I'm not embarrassed. I don't, I'd rather, again, like I would much rather be open and feel good than just to keep all this, So anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.